What's up, Cowboys Nation? The Dallas Cowboys just finished up day one of the NFL draft, and that was intense. That was probably one of the most intense draft nights that I've experienced with the Dallas Cowboys. I think it's just kind of the context of everything with the offseason and how lackluster it's been, how there hasn't been that much movement, and just kind of the intensity of knowing that the Cowboys need to nail this. They didn't get anyone in free agency, Eric Kendricks, but they told us that they were going to be all in on this draft class. And not only did they maximize that, they increased it. They were active, and they addressed the need in the draft tonight. And they kept Tyler Smith at the left guard position, which is a big need for this team. And I feel like Tyler Smith is really good at the left guard position instead of moving him out to the left tackle position. I think he would be great at both, but I'm just mixing words now. The Dallas Cowboys, with the 29th overall pick in the NFL draft, they select Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle from Oklahoma University, Sooner State. I don't know why I did that. I'm a Razorback, so I don't know why. But anyways, this was a solid pick, and I'm very excited to hear from you guys and hear what your thoughts were. Be sure to comment down below. What would you rate this on a letter grade scale, A, B, C, D, or F? I will share that with you at the end of this video, what I think about it. But I like it. I really do. And I really like what the Cowboys did tonight. And it was intense, man. I mean, it was give and take. Obviously, the Cowboys were starting at the 24th overall draft pick. They traded back to the number 29th pick, which they then chose to draft Tyler Guyton. So let's talk about this, because I got a few angles coming here from around this when it comes to this draft pick. And be sure to like and subscribe. And it's really good to see each and every one of you again. Thanks for tuning in. I haven't seen you since, well, I saw you a little bit during the offseason. But, obviously haven't seen you since, a lot since that Packers game. But anyways, let's talk about this trade. Here we go. It's up on the board. The Lions received the 24th overall pick, and the Dallas Cowboys selected the 29th overall pick. So they moved back 5 spaces, but the Cowboys got a day 2 pick. They got a 3rd round pick, 73rd overall, which we'll look at it here in a bit. But that adds to the pick load that they have for this upcoming draft. And in doing so, they sent a 2025 7th round pick, which is fine because the Cowboys are going to be getting a lot of draft capital for a lot of the picks that they lost from a lot of the players that they lost in the offseason to Washington and other places. So I like that move. A 7th round pick, boom, easy, done to get a day 2 pick. And with that, here we go. This is the full draft order right now. Who's to say the Cowboys may move day 2, day 3? We don't know. But right now they have 4 picks in that top 100, which is huge, huge for this team. And they add draft capital. They address their needs, and they get a solid player for it. Now, do I believe it was the best player they could have gotten? No. And that's the give and take that we have to talk about. Graham Barton, I think, was the unanimous choice to select at number 24. He somehow fell. He somehow came into your grasp after Troy Fautanu, offensive tackle from Washington, fell at 20. You then had Graham Barton, center from Duke, drop to your place at the 24th spot. But I mean, there was just so much talent at 24. I mean, when you look at it, things just really fell into place for the Cowboys tonight. It really couldn't have gotten better. I mean, I think the best case scenario was Barton dropping to 29th, but that's a stretch. It was always going to be a stretch. And I think when the Cowboys move on from the 24th spot, they know that they are saying bye to some players. They're saying bye to some players that they know they could have had at the 24th spot. Next two players were secondary, and Cowboys don't need to address secondary, at least this early in the draft, because you got Trayvon Diggs coming back from injury, who you gave an extension last offseason. You have DeRon Bland coming off of a historic season, and you have Jordan Lewis back on a one-year deal. So secondary doesn't need to be addressed. Offensive line was a huge issue, especially with Tyron Smith. And we're going to talk about him a little bit because I think he has a lot to play into the decision-making tonight. So yes, you need to beef up that offensive line. This past season, we saw the inability to run the football, which when we're talking about running, I do believe we're going to see someone on day 2. I'm just going to say it. I think Jonathan Brooks is a Dallas Cowboy. I think the Cowboys draft Jonathan Brooks. And I'm just, look, when we're talking about things falling into place for the Dallas Cowboys tonight, they, in my mind, couldn't do any wrong after they traded back. Like, there was just so much talent they could have chose from. They had their pick of the pool. The only thing that would have ruined that is if they chose a running back in round 1, which there are some rumors, some whispers that Brooks may have been picked in the first round. Thank God that didn't happen. And I didn't watch the rest of the picks, but I'm pretty sure a running back wasn't taken in that first round. So, and that's just kind of the new era that we are in the NFL. But regardless, it was intense. Now, I like the pick, but I can't help but think that, and this is my mind just going crazy, and you can follow along with me on this one. I think the pick that would have sent me over and would have had just me jumping up and down would be if the Cowboys got Xavier Worthy. The Chiefs got him. They traded up to get him, and that's a great pairing with Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy. But if you look at the Cowboys wide receiver room, you got CeeDee Lamb, obviously, who we have to sign, get that extension done. You got Brandon Cooks, great addition, right? We love Brandon Cooks. But then you look at that third spot, Cowboys are really depending on last year's draft pick, Jalen Brooks, as well as Jalen Tolbert to make that leap to get to wide receiver 3. But just imagine, take this trip with me if it was Xavier Worthy. And I think if you somehow get Tyron Smith back, which you could have totally done, forget the incentives part about it. That scared the Cowboys so much out of signing Tyron Smith, and they should have done it. You're not drafting Guyton tonight. At the 24th spot, it comes down to Barton or Xavier Worthy. Barton is enticing because he's all pro talent. But man, Xavier Worthy, oh my gosh, that would have sent me over. That was my pick of the night. And a lot of content creators are going to say different things. I like Xavier Worthy. That would have been a fun pick, giving Dak Prescott a plethora of weapons again. Oof. Oh, man. It would have been like CeeDee Lamb all over again. When he was drafted, he was coming into a situation with Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. Xavier Worthy comes into... I'm going to stop talking about it because it's just a hypothetical. It's never going to happen. He's with the Chiefs. But that's where I was at. At that point, I was like, that would have been my pick. I would have loved to seen that pick. But again, they couldn't have done anything wrong because you can go about the draft strategy of pick the best player or pick the best player that we need. And in my eyes, they couldn't do any wrong. So if they chose Worthy, obviously no wrong. But they chose Guyton, no wrong there. I like Guyton. I think this is a great pick that really helps them. And excuse me for sniffing. Allergy season is upon us. And so let's take a look at that starting 5. Because if you look at the starting 5 for the Dallas Cowboys, pretty solid. Guyton, now this is all hypothetical, right? Because we don't know exactly where Guyton's going to be placed. He's played on the right side. But this does give opportunity for Tyler Smith to retain that left guard position that he loves very much. He was on the Brock Hoffman podcast about a month ago talking about how that's his. Loves that position, which undeniably, I mean, he's a Pro Bowler there. So you got Guyton, Tyler Smith, Brock Hoffman, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele. I'm still believing for Terrence Steele. And if you don't believe me, I mean, they gave him a contract extension. You got to give Steele another year to get his stuff together. Coming off of an injury, we saw it with Tony Pollard. Maybe that's just the hump that he has to get over. Now, apparently the Cowboys believe a lot in Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass enough to say, we're going to go with that for the center position. And I'm not against that because we got depth too with Chuma Edoga as well coming back on a 1-year deal. I like our offensive line right now. I like where it is. I think it would have been better with Tyron Smith, but with where it's at and how we've recovered on day 1 of the draft, I like where we are. Jerry cooked. Jerry still got it in him. Trading, calling, being active, moving. Something we haven't seen all offseason, I know, and it hurts. But for him to do this on draft night was big, and I'm glad we were able to see it. Now it's going to be exciting to see the rest of the draft, but that's my initial reaction to round 1, night 1 of the draft. And I just want to say one more thing too. This NFL draft was interesting because we saw 6 quarterbacks go within the first 12 picks of the draft. And I tweeted about this, and be sure to follow me on X and everywhere, TikTok, Instagram, wherever you found me. But it is painfully obvious how desperate teams were tonight to find their franchise quarterback. And it should be a reminder, not like Cowboys Nation needs a reminder about how hard it is to find a franchise quarterback, but it's rare to find a good quarterback. And the Cowboys don't have a good quarterback. They have a great quarterback. This has only made me want to sign Dak Prescott even more. It is very hard. Ask a lot of organizations, watch a lot of franchises, see how difficult it is to have a good quarterback to build a team around. It is the truth when I say this. Dak Prescott is coming off of his best year playing quarterback in the National Football League. 34 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He was in the MVP discussion, and if you ask me, he should have been the most valuable player in the NFL. Look at the stats. Show me Lamar Jackson's stats. I'll show you Dak Prescott. We'll go at it one-on-one. Dak Prescott arguably is entering into his prime. And the Cowboys have dragged their feet getting an extension for their franchise quarterback. Get it done. Get it done. And it still can get done. But then after that, make sure you get CeeDee Lamb his money. And then get Micah Parsons his money. And not stop about this leaves falling. Stop it. This is the problem with the Dallas Cowboys. They're followers. They follow trends. They follow where the money goes. They follow where the league goes. And that's why they haven't won anything in the past 27 years. But when they did win something, they were innovative. They were trendsetters. They weren't thermometers reading the temperature of the league. They were thermostats setting the temperature, the tone of how they were going to dominate and take the league by storm. And guess what? It won them 3 Super Bowls. You look back at the 90s, Jerry and Jimmy changed draft night. It used to be this boring, mundane process, but they changed it into a gambling room, finding value in players. The Cowboys, the problem is they need to send trends. They need to take the league by storm and not follow what's going on, not stop following where the trends are going. And that's what they're doing with the money trail with the wide receiver market and the quarterback market. They're waiting for leaves to fall with contract extensions in the wide receiver room and the quarterback room. Pay these guys. It's not a matter of how much or any of that. Do they deserve it? Both of them do. Number 4 and number 88, Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. And don't be fooled. The Cowboys have made it about Dak Prescott and his cap space and his cap hit. It's not about how much you pay your quarterback. That should never be the question. You shouldn't be worried about how. It should be about what this franchise quarterback does and brings to your team. And right now, Dak Prescott gives the Cowboys their best chance. It may not be the ultimate chance, but it's better than anything, and you saw it tonight. That's honestly what I saw tonight. 6 teams went for quarterbacks in the first 12 rounds. They're desperate. Teams are desperate. The Atlanta Falcons are desperate that they went out and got Michael Penix Jr. when they already have Kirk Cousins. Denver Broncos are jumping up and down in the war room that they got Bo Nix, who will probably be out of the league in a few years. Sign Dak Prescott. If anything I learned from tonight, sign Dak Prescott. He's not a good quarterback. He's a great quarterback. He should have won MVP last year. He is leading this team, and you need to sign him, and that's all I got to say. Great night for the Dallas Cowboys, despite a very lackluster and slow and boring offseason. But you did what you needed to do in draft, and it's what they're good at. They're a really good draft team, whether you like it or not. Last season is kind of the exception. Last draft class was a disaster class, but I like what I'm seeing so far. And day 2 is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys after the draft to recap everything. But I'll see you then. Go Cowboys.